The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. I got to be honest with you. I would say that I hope you all enjoyed your weekend, but respectfully speaking, I don't care if you did or not, because we have no time to look into the past when we have finally arrived at game week for Razorback basketball. It's here. That's right. The final countdown. We finally made it. I don't care if it isn't until Friday. I don't care that it's an exhibition and it doesn't count on the record. It's basketball. It's the Razorbacks. It's Bud Walton Arena, and it's against somebody else. I can't wait to get out there. My heart is full. I've got a fire in my belly, and I can't wait to get this show on the road, man. It has been a long time coming. Think about some of the episodes. Think about the dog days. Some of the things that we had to talk about to get us through. A lot of recruiting, and that's great. That's nice. That's fine. A lot of projection. That's always fun to work our way through. But, man, we were taking like the College World Series bracket and playing it out as if it was a basketball bracket. We were all over the place with some of the things that we had to do here. But we're finally almost to the point of talking about the things that really matter. I watched Cincinnati play a basketball game over the weekend, so I'm going to talk about them in this matchup for a few minutes. A little early look at the Bearcats, nothing too crazy. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit more later this week, of course. I do want to run through some other exhibition results that are eye-popping, but will mean absolutely nothing come March. Do I owe a particular list maker an apology after my Friday rant? The answer is no, I don't, but I will acknowledge when they do something nice. So we're going to talk about that as well as some other news, notes, and tidbits around college basketball. So let's get into it. Today's episode of the Pod at the Palace is brought to you by our friends over at Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. If you haven't gotten decorated for Halloween yet, you're running out of time, but you still have time to spook up the crib a little bit. Take advantage of a good deal that will carry you through the entire holiday season. If you're in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, have Walter Christmas Lighting come out and hook you up. All the materials are provided, any color, any pattern. They do the installation, they do the maintenance, and they come out and do the takedowns for you in January. Remember, sign up for your Halloween lights. You still have time. You're also going to get your Christmas lights for 50% off. It's a pretty good deal. Just text our guy Brett for a free estimate, 479-459-1380. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Okay. Listen, we might as well start right here. So our last episode on Friday, I got off on a rant. I think I was literally yelling at myself out of irritation over Arkansas just consistently getting shafted by a bunch of these early rankings and lists. And do they matter? No, but damn it, put some respect on their name, right? Hey, at least I told you guys beforehand that I recognize a decent amount of that stuff that goes out there. It's designed rage bait. It is, set up to get people like me or you or whoever to react and click and engage. And I said on the day, I'm biting because I got time for it. So I'm going to give you what you want. And we did that. But honestly, the one that really set me off wasn't, I don't think, like that. It was a list from CBS Sports, and it was the top 10 backcourts in the country. They had a handful of honorable mentions that they had there as well. Not a single word written about Arkansas. And my thought process on it, and I'm not just rehashing what we talked about Friday. I have a point here, but unless a team is returning everyone, we're all just speculating and projecting what what a backcourt or whatever is going to look like. So to me, I just don't know how you can look at Arkansas's group of guards with the combination of production and experience and retention and high-level talent and recruiting rankings and accolades, all those things, not even give them a mention, not a shout, nothing, period, whatever. Anyway, the next day, the exact same outlet put out the top 10 front courts list. And, I've been on record saying I don't expect Arkansas's front court to get a whole lot of pub, a whole lot of love right away, but that I do believe it's going to be a real strength for this team. I like it a lot. I'm actually enamored with the group. I think they're going to wind up really surprising folks. And maybe when you have a postseason list, that's the one you want to be on, right? And I think this group is capable of that. Hell, John Calipari even laid out what I would call a pretty clear challenge at SEC Media Day last week. He's still wanting to see more from these guys. What do you say? If you don't have a post presence, your team is a fraud. And we pulled out 15 clips of not crashing the boards. And, so he's still working to get more out of this group. Well, CBS Sports actually had Arkansas on that list. ranked as the number 10 front court in the country. So, no, I'm not going to retract my frustration from Friday, but I'll give them their little bouquet of flowers for being high on the hog. We see you. Okay. Acknowledged. I thought it was a good list, actually. Florida at number 1, obvious. They've got that whole crew coming back from last year's front court that was, like, I know they had Walter Clayton and, Elijah Martin and those guys. They were really, really good, but that front court was nasty. Remember how tough they were on the offensive glass? Purdue, St. John's, Houston, next in that order. I have zero qualms about that. Michigan in there, of course. They spent a ton of NIL money on 3 big men out of the portal there. They hoarded up the whole damn market. Really, it was crazy. You guys remember that at the time? It was like one big after another. They went and got Morris Johnson first, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, they need to replace some beef there. That's a hell of a pickup for them. And then next thing you know, Yaxel's going over there, and you're like, good grief, that's a hell of a combo there. Looking pretty solid. Oh, we're gonna go get a Day Mara also. It's like, gosh, man, I can save some for the rest of us here. The rest of the list, like I can nitpick a little bit about Gonzaga, but they do have Graham Ike back, and he's really good. And Duke, a lot of unproven there, but they've got a top 3 lottery pick in Cam Boozer. So it is what it is. But here's what they said about Arkansas. So let me show you guys the love that they showed. In fairness, it says Coach John Calipari had Arkansas playing its best basketball in March after a bumpy regular season. That steady crescendo late was a credit in part to its play down low from Trevin Brazil, shout out TB, a returning forward on this year's team, and from Jonas Adu. While Adu is gone, Arkansas may have upgraded on the whole with transfers Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle joining the mix. Ewan averaged 14.2 points and 7.6 boards per game last season with the Seminoles, and Pringle rated out as one of the best defenders on his team, playing alongside lottery pick Colin Murray Boyles. This team is going to be long and athletic, just as Calipari likes it. I want to put one sentence in here in the back of your mind. I'm going to talk about some other things, and then we're going to come back to this. It is Arkansas may have upgraded on the whole with transfers Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle joining the mix. So remember that one. We're going to talk about it in a second here. But, this was a good write-up. And the potential is there for this to be what I think a terrorizing group for SEC competition but there are a lot of ifs, obviously. Let me qualify it there. But if Trevin levels up, like, it's not just we hope that he will, because we've been hoping that was going to happen for 4 years now. I understand that. But the way John Calipari just continues to gush over him and hype him up, you've got to anticipate he's going to be the best version of himself so far, or a better version of what we had. He was pretty good at the end of last year, was he not? So you like to hear that. Now, if you really do get that change of pace between these two newcomers, Ewan's just plus offensive versatility, Nick Pringle's toughness and rebounding and defense, and if 2 of those 3 in Ewan and TB are able to knock down shots for you, it feels like Arkansas pretty much has an answer for anything that they're going to see, and they can throw a lot of different things at you there. And, I also think just simply having another body or 2 in case of emergency with Elmer and Paolo, that is noteworthy, because you just didn't have that last year. And it really, really showed when, Jonas was hurt a majority of the season, and then Z was banged up late. It was tough on him. So the article had it ranked as the number 2 front court in the SEC. So, Florida was number 1. Arkansas was the second SEC team there, by the way, with no other SEC schools even in an honorable mention. So should this be a year where Arkansas really feasts in the paint and dominates on the backboards? Maybe so. I will say, though, I'm a little bit surprised at Tennessee not making the list. And, maybe as an honorable mention, it's a deep front court. Not a whole lot of offensive pop, and I think that's probably why they didn't get on there. But Felix Okpara, really good shot blocker, really good rebounder, starter. He's back for him. Cade Phillips, who was a really good guy off the bench for him last year, big-time lob threat, can play the 4 or the 5. He was in there. Okay. JP Estrella is back. I think he would have wound up starting for him last year. He could be a guy who, if you think about like some of the dudes they've had in the past, like Milicic last year, Fulkerson, you guys remember him? Bulky that kind of player, this would be the guy who could be that. They went and got the big fella from Vanderbilt over there. So they do have a lot of options. I think they'll be sturdy defensively. It's deep. So I was a little surprised to not see them. I think if Jaden Quaintance was healthy, Kentucky could sort of have a case, but I'm not as high on, Garrison, and, Moreno could be really good. He's a true freshman. So it's kind of a TBD with those guys. And I think about the rest of the league. I don't know, like Auburn. Yeah, Keyshawn Murphy's good, but what else do they have going on there? Alabama, I don't think so. Yeah. So I don't know about the rest of the SEC. So it could be a good thing for Arkansas. But let's go back to what I told you to remember. I want to throw this out there. I know it's going to be hard for a lot of people to be able to view it without being in hindsight mode or without it being skewed and ingrained in your mind what we witnessed. Yes, I know it did not pan out the way that we hoped it would with Jonas Adu. But we also know, he proved to us what he was capable of down the stretch of the season once he was healthy. Like, that was strictly impacted by injury. And that sucks. But the part of that article that intrigued me the most was, that, hey, Arkansas may have upgraded over where it was with these 2 new transfers. How do you feel about that? All conditions equal, if we assume, full health from last year's front court and this year's front court on, coming into a year which, which front court has more potential, and which one would you be more excited about if you had to compare the two? Trevin, Nick Pringle, and Malik Ewan, or Trevin, Big Z, and Jonas Adu? I know it's hard to separate yourselves from what we saw, but I think about it last year, and I was pretty intrigued by the combination that Arkansas had, but it was still a lot of projection. Like TB, we were kind of in the same mode, except I think we're rightfully a little bit more excited this year. But remember Big Z, it was like, man, he really had some moments at Kentucky. Now we have the full offseason in the weight room. Maybe he's stronger. Maybe he's this. Maybe he's that. Boy, he could really be something. And Jonas, you're like, what you see is what you already know. You know what I mean? Like an all SEC big man coming over for you. So there are a lot of reasons to be excited about that. Turns out Z still had a lot of limitations, did some good things, and Jonas was hurt the whole year. So it kind of stunk, but I was pumped about it. Well, I'm also pumped about this year. So let's think about this for a minute. Off the jump, I want to say I would take this year's group pretty definitively, but I think one of the main questions I have is, like, is Malik Ewan going to be a Jalen Graham who can rebound, or which, hey, that's not a bad player, is it? Or is he going to be one of the best bigs in the SEC? Because I think that's what his ceiling is. And, if just as a group here, if we start with the offense, I think this year's scoring is a little bit more versatile if you're actually, going to get just a little bit of shooting from Ewan to go along with what I think is going to be more volume than you've ever had from TB. Trevin as an improved version of himself, but most of his game still remains intact. Like, I'm fine giving this year's version of Trevin an edge over last year's. We don't know for sure yet, but how much better is he going to be? That's a fair question, but to assume he's an improved player, period. Yeah. I mean, what we saw from him at the end of last year was a hell of a lot better than I think we would have expected going into the season. Right. So, and then Malik Ewan, his total package offensively is just on a different level than any of Arkansas's forwards last season. Those guys aren't going to be able to replace, what Big Z brought to the table as a 3-point shooter, but offensively, Ewan is better in literally every other way by a wide margin. Put him on the block, off the bounce, better passer, can do more in DHO. He's just superior in every other way there, and he might be a guy who knocks down some threes for you. We'll see. Jonas might be a little better than Nick Pringle offensively, but from the sounds of it, Pringle's really improved from, the player that he has been. And really, Jonas's best season, I know he was on a really good Tennessee team that had other options, but he averaged 11-7 in the SEC. And, Nick Pringle last year started in the SEC alongside a lottery pick, and they weren't very good at South Carolina, but he averaged just under 10 points and 6 rebounds per game. So is there really that much of a gap, I think is what I'm saying, because, what was Jonas, right? Like a pick and roll finisher, not really a lob threat, but he was really good in the short roll. The foot impacted his ability to leap, but I wouldn't say he was a dominant offensive post presence either. Probably has a little bit more to his mid-range game. He really popped off, obviously. Like I think about the Mississippi State game, what he brought to the table. The Kansas game, he was electric. Did a lot of really good things there. Pringle, a little bit different player, right? Like he's more physical, going to play way more above the rim, certainly. I think more of a threat as a putback merchant, a guy that's going to get on the offensive glass, maybe a better finisher through contact. Neither one of them great free throw shooters. As far as, a ball mover or a short roller or a guy who operates well in dribble handoffs, time will tell, I guess, a little bit on that one. Defensively, I would say this year's group is going to be way, way better rebounding. I feel very confident this is going to be a better rebounding team, even if Cal's still challenging them to do more in practice right now. That's fine. I think they're going to be improved. I think they're going to be much more physical. I think they're going to be much more versatile by way of defending pick and roll. Your pick and roll defense should be a lot better. I think they're going to be a little bit more switchable, but they're not going to have the same level of rim protection and shot blocking that they did last season. So what do you think about that trade-off? It's almost like I'm doing the 6-7 thing. It's crazy. I also think there's something to be said for maybe it just being a little bit smoother, or it makes more sense to me, I guess I would say, that they could play their fives together this year. Like Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan sharing the floor together makes a hell of a lot more sense to me than Jonas and Big Z sharing the floor together. And they had to do that some last year because of injuries. And let's say, knock on wood, TB's, sick and out for a game, or he fouls out or whatever, and you can't really afford to go small. Don't you feel a little bit better about playing Ewan and Pringle as opposed to what you had with Jonas and Z? That was crazy, man. And they weren't even really going zone when they did it. But like Pringle, he can guard a 4. He'll be just fine. Ewan can play the 4, run it offensively just fine. I think that would work a little bit better there. But I think I would take this front court. We'll see how it all plays out at the end of the year. But going into the season, I still think I'm a little bit higher on this one than I was actually going into last season because of some of the uncertainty, frankly, with Z. You just didn't know that the upside was there, but we were just kind of waiting to see. But let me know what you think in the comments. All right, Razorback fans, let's take a quick break here and talk about insurance, everybody's favorite. Hey, nobody wants to deal with the hassle of shopping around. That's why I use and recommend OZK Insurance. They're based right here in Arkansas, and they shop multiple carriers to find the best coverage and price for you. Whether it's home, auto, business, you name it. Whether it's Saturdays at Razorback Stadium or everyday life, you want protection you can count on. With over 600 five-star Google reviews, count on OZK Insurance and get a free online quote at ozkinsurance.com or call 479-715-4200. It's OZK Insurance, protection made simple. We're also presented today by our partners over at the Eye Center of Northwest Arkansas. My guys, they got me covered with the specs, got me taken care of. Your vision, we know it's essential to your quality of life, and professional eye care is a must for you and your family. Their award-winning eye doctors are board-certified and professionally active, yet their patients talk most about how caring and friendly they are. They make you feel like you're part of the family. It's nice. Every patient receives the best in new vision care technology plus old-fashioned personal attention. Need cataract surgery? Want to check on the refractive surgery for patients who are struggling with readers or glasses or contacts? They've got surgery options available for everyone, and they can get you in before the end of 2025 to make your holiday season in clear view. They've got availability for eye exams with their new provider, Dr. Rebecca Brown, right now, as well as their other providers who are available to fit into your schedule. They do Botox, filler, IPL with their aesthetics provider, Olivia Risch. Buy a treatment in advance for your loved one or for your own holiday present. Schedule an appointment today with the Eye Center of Northwest Arkansas. Give them a call at 479-442-2020. You can also check out their website at www.eyecenternwa.com for more info. All righty. Let's hop back into it here. Get my graphic off of there. Let's take a few minutes to overanalyze some exhibitions, including what's on deck for Arkansas on Friday, shall we? Why not? Have a little bit of fun with it. I'm going to rattle off a bunch of early exhibition scores for you here. I'm going to give my thoughts on a few things, and we'll finish with Cincinnati's exhibition from Friday night. And we'll talk Cincy, Arkansas for a few minutes. But it's always interesting to see these. And, we've learned that these exhibitions, it's not that you can't take anything away from them, right? I think that's the most misnomer out there. These things mean nothing. Well, yeah, they don't count. They certainly don't count. We know that Arkansas went down to Austin and got blasted 30-balled by Texas. They wound up in the Sweet 16, and they punked Purdue the next year, and they wound up not even making the tournament. So it doesn't have to be indicative of what your season's going to look like, right? Or, how far you're going to go on the tournament or how good of a team you have. But it does give you a decent idea of where you're at in the moment. And I do think that matters for, Arkansas. Think about it. The first weekend of the regular season, you're going on the road and playing Michigan State. And that's an important game. It's a big game. It's a spotlight game, an opportunity for you to solidify yourself, make a statement. You want to be ready for that. And that's why you play games like this. So it's not that you just blow everything off that you see. And it's not that if you have a really good exhibition when you beat number 1 Kansas, then all of a sudden you're going to beat them in the NCAA tournament. Oh, wait, that's exactly what Arkansas did. Bad example. But you get what I'm saying, right? There are things to take away from it. You can learn about how far along the team is in certain areas, the things they need to work on, lineups, combinations. There's a lot that we can take away from it, and we will. So I'm excited to talk about it, but I'm not going to do the thing where if Arkansas were to lose to Cincinnati on Friday, that I go, yeah, we overrated this team, man. It's just they're not going to be any good. We got to readjust our expectations. No, not at all. And if they go to Memphis and beat them by 35 on the next Monday, I'm not going to be doing the thing where I say book your tickets, folks. I might, but I'll just be joking with you. Anyway, Oklahoma beat Texas Tech 89-87. Do I think the Sooners will have a better season or a better team than Texas Tech? No. But I could see how their backcourt could cause problems for the Red Raiders. And then I start thinking about the rematch in Dallas with Arkansas and Texas Tech, and if the Hogs might be able to exploit something there if they defend the 3-point line. But that was notable, I think. It's a Texas Tech team that's bringing a lot back. And as I understand it, they had everybody but their VCU transfer in the front court. So nice little win there for the Sooners. And so it makes me feel a bit vindicated for having Oklahoma projected a little bit higher than others in the preseason, the SEC. But other than that, it's whatever. Oklahoma State, 97, Auburn, 95. Listen, this one's interesting. The Pokes are picked 14th in the Big 12, and they were missing a couple starters in this game. Doesn't mean they can't outperform their expectations. They probably will, but, is Auburn cooked? No. They've got a lot of talent over there. But what do I take away from that exhibition result? New coach, brand new roster, means it's probably going to take some time for them to gel and figure things out. Could they hit some bumps early? Yeah. Is it a guarantee that they will figure it out? No. But they're obviously not firing on all cylinders just yet, especially on the defensive end of the floor, which seems to be the case for a lot of these teams because some of these scores have been really high there. I will say, and I want to talk to Quinn about this. He's going to be in town over the weekend for the Auburn football game, but it did strike me as a little bit weird how many of Auburn's players were already on social media, like sensitive to fan reactions after an exhibition game. If you're switching up now, don't jump back on the bandwagon later. It's like, really? After one exhibition, you're surprised that fans are crashing out about it and you're reacting to that? I'm not crazy about that. I think you got to have thicker skin than that. Does it mean anything big picture? No, but that caught my attention almost more than the actual result did. Alabama 109, Florida State 105. Sounds like a Nate Oates team to me. A lot of scoring and no defense. But listen, Alabama, I watched most of that game. I don't think Reitzel played. I think he was out. But Thea is still nursing an injury. But I don't think they're quite as talented as they have been the last couple of years here. But they play equally fast, and they let it rip from three. And they got a bunch of guys who can make them. So the DNA is not going to change for that team. I'm not sold on their defense. I'm not sold on their front court, but that's been my concern. Like, it wasn't born from watching that scrimmage necessarily. So there's that. Ole Miss 70, Houston 56. Now, this is a wow to me. I'm not going to lie. maybe I'm overreacting to this one. As I understand it, both teams were full strength, but no box score was made available for this. For Houston to get held to 56 points, they must not have shot it well, obviously. But two things I'm wondering, is Houston's got a lot coming back, but they're also replacing a lot, and they're replacing them for the most part with freshmen. And that's interesting for Kelvin Sampson. You think about the way that they play. Are those freshmen up to the standard and demands that Kelvin Sampson has in that program yet? Makes you wonder. So what does that mean for them defensively? Do they take even a half step back? And the other thing I wonder, they scored 56 points. Does this team get on the offensive glass as relentless as prior Houston teams did? Because that's where they were crazy about it. Like last year, I thought they had a great offense because I think they shot nearly 40% from three as a team, and they probably led the country in offensive rebounding percentage. So you make a bunch of your threes, and then the ones that you miss, you rebound most of them. And yeah, that's going to lead to you being pretty efficient there. But, if you're relying on more young guys, are they as physical? Are they as tough? Do they have the nose for it? Are they as gritty? They're going to fight and win those 50-50 balls? Eventually, yeah, of course they will. It's a culture, right? It's kind of the fabric of what they do as a program. But right away, could it be possible that they run into some bumps? Maybe. So I wish that was, I don't know. Maybe that was a secret scrimmage as opposed to an exhibition, I guess. So no tape out of there, but it's interesting. And then from the Ole Miss standpoint, they do have a tough front court, like with Malik Dia, James Scott from Louisville, Corey Chest from, the undersized center from LSU. So I'm not necessarily surprised that they were able to hold up in the paint, but I want to know where Ole Miss's offense came from. Don't you? Like with Malik Dia just on a heater, he may have been. Did AJ Storr have one of his pop performances? Because he can do it. He's good for it. Really struggled last year at Kansas, though. Outside of that, was Travis Perry really out there getting buckets? Maybe Kez Giffa, the international guard. I wonder where their pop is going to come from. That's my biggest question for Ole Miss, because I like their front court. That a Chris Beard team is going to be well coached. That they're going to be tough and that they're going to defend. But where's the firepower? And I mean, they only scored 70, but scoring 70 on Houston's like scoring 80 on most teams. So thought it was interesting. Exhibition or not, it was eye-opening to me. Now, the last one, and then we'll wrap it up here for the day. Cincinnati, who's going to come to Bud Walton Arena Friday, 100. Michigan, ranked number 7 in the preseason AP poll, 98. So Cincinnati went on the road and got that win. And so they're going to be coming into Bud having already done that, and they've got a game under their belt, and you don't. So they kind of already worked out some of those kinks and watched the tape and improved on that. So they might be a little bit ahead of Arkansas from that standpoint. Now, Arkansas is a vastly more talented team. They're playing at home. It's an exhibition. It doesn't matter. But I'm just throwing that stuff out there. Let me take a sip. Thank you. Let's play the Andrew Ellis game. Two things can be true at once. Cincinnati, unranked in the AP top 25, but they are a projected tournament team. 9 seed in Lenardi's most recent one. They looked really good. More on them in a minute. Michigan, it has to be noted here that they were without both Morez Johnson and Ade Mara, who we mentioned just a minute ago, right? Like they're two of the big 3 front court pieces that Michigan spent like $10 million of NIL on. So that certainly had an impact, right? But yeah, to me, like watching it, Michigan has new players in the same identity. Like they turn it over like crazy, and they don't play defense, but man, they're hard to guard on the other end. Cincinnati, actually, let me pull up their box score. That way you guys can look at it while I talk my way through it again. Cincinnati, let's start with the backcourt. Kerr Kriisa over there now was at Kentucky last year, was at Arizona and West Virginia before that. Kind of that, he'll talk his talk to you, right? Really not a great for somebody that talks so much trash. He's not a very good defender, and that's always kind of cracked me up. But he's got some stuff to him. A veteran, he's going to be yapping at Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas. Arkansas is going to have to deal with that. 4 of 9 from 3 in this game. It's like I guess he carried over whatever shot he found at Kentucky to Cincinnati there. Who stood out to me the most when I was watching this game? number 10, Sean Abayev. If you guys remember, Abayev, he was in the same class as Acuff and Leak, and he visited Arkansas, took an official visit. I want to say he was on campus the same weekend that Chris Sinak was, who's at Houston now. I think that's who it was. There were two guys on campus at once, maybe, but at any rate, Arkansas was a finalist there, and Auburn was involved also. He winds up going to Cincinnati, and that was one at the time, where he was in a way he reminds me of Abdou Toure, not similar players at all, but guys who were, you're recruiting all these 5 stars and top 10 prospects and everything, and here's this kid who's a 4-star, and he's like in the high 20s, low 30s, but you watch him play, and you're like, man, this dude can kind of go. Like, low-key, I would really like to get him. That's how I felt about Abayev at the time. Well, he goes out there and scores 15 in his debut. He hit 3 threes. He's good. And he's going to be an interesting matchup for Arkansas. Now, they'll be able to counter him with, like, Billy Richmond, right? Or Carter or whoever. He's a bigger wing, Abayev is. But, man, he looked good out there. He could be a potential, one-and-done type of guy. I think the NBA's in his future, but really impressive freshman guard there for them. Sincere Harris, number 5, really, really good perimeter and wing defender. So that's going to be a good challenge for somebody from Arkansas. I thought he looked good out there in this game. I want to talk about their front court real quick, though, because they got Baba Miller, who I was hoping Arkansas would take a run at. He's like a poor man's Trevin Brazil in a way. Good player. I don't want to sell him short. And I heard some people comparing Paulo Smido to a Baba Miller and like making fun of that. But I don't know, man. Like, this is a dude who got buckets at Florida State. He got buckets at FAU. Not a bad play, like a stretch 4. He's good. What did he finish with in this game? 11 points. And he had 6 rebounds, and he fouled out. But he's going to be a stretch 4 that, Arkansas is going to have to contend with. I think that's a good early, preseason exhibition type matchup there for TB. Those guys have similar skill sets. But Mustafa Thiam, the big fella, 52, 7'2", transfer from UCF. And, he was a double threat for them, a big time rim protector for UCF last year, could stretch it out and knock down some threes a little bit. He had a good game offensively. He had 15 points. He hit a 3. So you're like, okay, I can kind of see that there. Did not block a shot and only had he only had 2 rebounds in the game. And I kind of expected more from him than that. But at 7'2" and, long and rangy, he's going to be a guy that's going to be an interesting challenge there. I think about like Acuff and Malik Thomas getting downhill, and your first experience in a true game-like atmosphere, you're going to have a 7'2" dude roaming around there. So how do they handle that? It's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. I like their front court there, but I got to be honest with you. I look over on the other side, and Yaxel Lindenborg, he's a baller. We all wanted him. Like, he was on the big board for us for 2 years, right? He went for 31 and 12 in this game. And like, Michigan was getting smacked in this game. They were down 18 at halftime, and Yaxel took over in the second half. They literally had nothing for him. And I'm not saying Malik Ewan is Yaxel Lindenborg, but Malik Ewan is a very gifted offensive big man. And so if I'm seeing Yaxel go for 31 and 12 on these dudes, I'm looking at Malik Ewan and saying, buddy, you can give us 20 and 10. You know what I mean? Like, it strikes me as maybe a potential good matchup for Malik Ewan there, where he can just go into attack mode and give those guys hell. Will be interesting. Shout out to Elliot Cadeau, by the way, for scoring 14 points in this game for Michigan and taking 1 shot from the field, 12 of 15 from the free throw line. That's crazy. Also, an honorable mention shout out to Roddy Gale, Michigan guard, who had 8 turnovers in the game. That's wild behavior. Why does Michigan turn it over like that, man? Dusty May's got to get them boys tightened up over there. Anyway, but yeah, like I said, I just want to talk Cincinnati a little bit. I thought they shot it well. I think they were 12 of 31 from 3. Really hot first half, and then they cooled off there. Arkansas is going to have a much more talented backcourt. You got to contend for Abayev. I think it's a good early, with their length and everything, a good test in the front court for Arkansas. We'll go a lot deeper into it when we preview the actual game later in the week. I imagine at some point, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, we'll talk to maybe Cal, hopefully Cal, but it might be Kenny Payne or Chuck Martin or Chin or somebody. Maybe they'll give us a play or two, but we'll get a little bit of a preview and some more insight there for you as well. But going to get out of here for the day. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us where you find your podcast. You guys know the drill by then. We'll see you tomorrow, man. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas and the Pod at the Palace. Everybody have a good day.